Hello, everybody. This is Rec here with Alex.
Hello.
We are coming back again to discuss our first impressions on the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Mario Kart World game, as Nintendo would put it.
Exactly. For copyright purposes.
Good grief. I know it's just their whole marketing thing. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways. There's a lot we got to get through, and we'll try to do it somewhat quickly and concisely, but we'll kind of, how do you want to do it? We just go kind of back and forth here, and, I start with my thoughts, and then you go. Like, we'll cover each section.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that then. I have my notes here. So we start with the Switch 2, and before we kind of get into all the more detailed stuff, what is, like, the general thoughts on, like, a very simple response on Switch 2 and Mario Kart World? Like, let's start with you.
I think the Switch 2 and Mario Kart World are big improvements over Switch 1 and Mario Kart 8 respectively, personally. So,
For me, I'll get into this more later, but I just felt like I never wanted to go back. I never want to go back to 8 Deluxe and the Switch 1 ever again.
the Switch 1 I'll defend more because personally, since I have smaller hands, I think it's more comfortable at like times for certain games that are more action heavy and also easier to carry around. But like Switch 2 is something you're not going to be taking out of the house at all. But like 8 Deluxe, like I'll admit I'm biased. Like, I've never really cared for it much. I just think it relies too much on bagging and other stuff for me to be good with the characters I like. But that's just me. So whereas World, I feel like I have a lot more fun. There's a lot more I can do in it, and I can actually put up a good fight in it. So.
We'll get into all that later, but yeah. So that's kind of where we stand on it, and let's jump right into the Switch 2 and our thoughts on that. First and foremost, I put that one of the things that just really jumped out at me when you unboxed your Switch, your Switch 2, and we were sitting there and I was watching you unbox it. One of the things that really got to me was that the picture, like the screen, is so much bigger than the original Switch. Like, I cannot really, because it was so hard to tell in videos and stuff, but when it was like actually there in front of you, I was like, whoa, this screen is massive.
Yeah, like it's one thing, like the screen is only like technically 1.25 times bigger than the Switch 1 screen, but because Switch 1 screen, the original model, doesn't take up most, the actual image doesn't take up most of the screen. It looks more like it's 1.5 times bigger on Switch 2 because it takes up most of the screen, and it's a huge difference, especially with the 1080p resolution bump. It's really nice.
Yeah, it really stood out to me. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another thing is like just having that bigger screen. I mean, I totally wanted to play in handheld more. I mean, me, I did not touch handheld mode with the original Switch much at all.
Well, he also has you have bigger hands, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Not as comfortable for you,
Yeah, I have much bigger hands, and it just, the Joy-Cons were so uncomfortable, and not only that, the drifting problems and all the other problems, which we'll kind of get into the speculation on that a little bit here, since I don't want to get into it later, but there seems to be that the Joy-Con 2's design is still very similar to the Joy-Con 1's. The layout is a little bit different, but it still uses the same mechanisms. So, yeah.
Here's hoping we don't have Joy-Con 2 drift, but don't be surprised, people, if it happens, so...
Yeah.
But at least Nintendo gives free repairs, thankfully, so...
You better believe I'm taking advantage of that.
Yeah, no, because I'm not paying $95 to replace my Joy-Cons. No way.
Yeah, no way. I'm just going to ship them into Nintendo.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely want to play handheld more with this. And something that kind of jumped out at me, and I don't know if you feel differently, Alex. I know that we talked a little bit, and I think it depends on the game. But for me, I just felt that the handheld visual experience on a Switch 2 and our 4K TV experience is still very different. Like they're different as far as devices, everything, and their capabilities, but as far as visual quality goes, I felt they were the same.
Yeah, because that's the thing, because the original Switch 1 only ever was up to 1080p, and there's only going to be
on
docked, and
docked,
and the thing is, like, there's not really any real Switch 2 games that really take advantage of the 4K other than Mario Kart World, so we don't really have much to compare to right now. The only comparison I could make was like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, for example. That looked a lot better on the TV, I feel, than it did on Switch 1.
Yeah.
It was a pretty significant difference, I'd say, that in there, because that's because it has a performance patch to allow it to take advantage of 4K.
Well, I think you could see the textures and stuff a way better, that everything just looks higher quality.
Yeah.
It feels more like an actual Switch game.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. It's like it's gonna take time for us, us to really have more stuff to compare to that actually takes full advantage of the 4K. So as it stands right now, a lot of it's gonna just look like normal 1080p for a lot of Switch 1 games. So
Yeah. So, I kind of want to jump right into the Joy-Con 2s.
Yeah, let's do that.
And I want to say it's really funny because next to a Joy-Con, they don't look that much bigger, like at all. But again, when you're holding it in your hands and you're playing it, despite that rather minimal size increase, it feels rather substantially larger in my hands.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I think part of that's also because the screen is so big, so it feels just like a much bigger product altogether. Whereas if you're just playing the Joy-Cons, like say the Joy-Con 2 is not a Joy-Con grip, it doesn't feel as big of an increase. But at the same time, they're big enough that like I can actually use the Joy-Con 2 grip, and it actually feels nice to use as a controller. I'm like, wow, I actually feel like I want to use it here and there. Unlike the Switch one, where it just did not feel good to use at all. It felt really bad.
Yeah, it did not feel good. I hated the Joy-Con grip originally.
Same
I
here.
haven't tried the Joy-Con 2 grip, but
I can vouch for it. It worked really well, honestly.
Okay.
A lot better than I thought it would have.
Yeah. And that's another thing. They don't feel awkward in my hands. Like before, it felt like my hands were just going to smother the controllers because, again, they're just so large.
Yeah.
And so, like, I liked the idea of having each one in your hand separately so you could have the freedom. And that just did not work with the original Joy-Cons. It feels much better with Joy-Con 2s for me.
That makes sense.
They actually feel like, substantial controllers that like my hands aren't just going to cover them and they're going to vanish.
Yeah, for me, it's like I personally never liked, even with Joy-Cons, I don't really like having them in each hand. It feels kind of awkward not having something solid to grip the controllers to. But like I will admit, like, yeah, this feels better with Joy-Con 2s than Joy-Con 1s. That's just a personal preference thing. For me, it doesn't really quite work. It just feels very awkward. So that's why I personally wouldn't do that. But that's why I really love the Joy-Con 2 grip, because like the fact I was able to play hours of Mario Kart with it and I didn't really have any problems at all, I enjoyed it, says a lot to its quality, I feel, of the improvements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. And I think this like
the sticks. Yeah, I
the
forgot.
sticks is another part that's just like they feel so much better than the Joy-Con 1 sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And not that the Joy-Con 1 sticks were bad, but there's several things to me that just makes a difference from my experience. First and foremost, the sticks are bigger. They travel a little further than the Switch 1 Joy-Con sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this kind of smoothness about them. Not as much as the Pro controller, I will argue.
But it's still a decent amount, yeah.
Yeah.
It's noticeable, very noticeable.
Yeah, it definitely very noticeable. So yeah. In general, everything runs smoother and faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically, this is just a much better Switch in every way. Like I cannot stress that enough. Like when I said that I did not want to go back to Switch 1, I literally meant it. The only thing I would argue that maybe the Switch 2 kind of has against it that I'm personally seeing as a problem is, I would say, maybe don't treat this so much as a handheld console anymore, or like a portable console you're going to be taking on the go everywhere, like on the bus and everything.
Yeah, no, I would not recommend that at all, because if something happens, you damage the console, then you're gonna have a lot of money to pay if you want to replace it or get a new one. So
yeah,
it's more, it feels like something like, oh, you can take it around the house and stuff just fine, like that's nice, but like also like the battery life is not very good.
Yeah,
that's the one other complaint.
Like the battery life is okay, but it's really only good if you either have like some portable battery to plug it into while you're traveling, or you're just going around the house and you have outlets everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would not take this out of the house. It's not going to last very long anyway. So, although I will say the kickstand is a lot better, like in terms of utility, because the original one for the very first model was very cheap, and I know they fixed that with some later revisions, but even still, I'm like, it's just one side. Whereas this one, I can actually lay it on my legs with a kickstand, and it actually will stay in place really nicely and stuff. And I can use my controller, and I don't have to like bend over to like have the screen, like look at the screen. It's just laying flat on my legs like I did with Switch One. So that was very nice. I really appreciate that they fixed that. So.
Yeah, I do feel like tabletop mode is way more flexible now thanks to this better stand than the original for sure.
Yeah, the Switch One didn't really work very well.
Yeah, because with this one, it's like you don't even have to buy a third-party stand because I feel like this one built in. The only concern I kind of have is it does feel kind of flimsy in a different way.
Yeah, it's like you need to pull it from the middle, like the little groove recommends.
Yeah, the indent.
Because like if you try to pull it from the sides, it really feels like it's gonna snap and break. So you don't do that.
I wouldn't say it's that bad, but it definitely feels like you're afraid that you'll bend it out of shape or something.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's not going to happen, but like, because I'm sure they've tested all this, but it's just, I don't know. Just to be safe, I would just pull it from the middle.
Same here, yeah.
As far as like, getting back to everything runs smoother and faster, like we've tried Smash Ultimate because that was the one that I really want to try. One of the really annoying things of that game is that like when I'm trying to pick a skin, like it takes 3 seconds to load some of those skins that are not the main ones. And we tried Smash Ultimate, which, mind you, has not had a performance patch or anything yet for Switch 2. This was just on its own. It looked better color-wise a little bit, and not significantly, but there was some differences. And the skins load up within like half a second.
Yeah, compared to like 3 seconds they took on Switch One.
Like all the skins for every character.
Like even for the heavier characters, yeah.
Yeah, it just boom loads in. It's just they're all there, and that's with all the DLC we had installed and everything. And the load times are so much faster. I mean, you're talking about like the Great Cave Offensive, Palutena's Temple. It loads within like what, a second and a half or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's fast. So yeah, that was super nice because, like I said, that was a frustration I had. And also, we'll kind of get into this a little bit later, but we'll talk about input delay on that.
Yeah. Because
we feel that we've seen some things that might suggest that the input delay is much less than the Switch one. Yeah. But we're not 100% sure because there's no way to test it, but we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah.
First, let's talk about the Wi-Fi connection. I can't truly confirm this 100% because again we've hardly been with the console. It's just our first impressions, but at this time we did test a few games and it seems like online appears to run better than Switch One.
Yeah, I've had a lot, like for example on Mario Kart World, I've had like very few disconnects and stuff, like unless someone else was using the internet, obviously. But like normally, like on Switch One, it's a lot more finicky. There's a lot of times like I'll disconnect randomly out of nowhere, or just I'll just have random problems. Even like in Smash, for example, like I'll like exit like Elite Smash something, and then it'll be like, oh, like it'll boot you back to the menu and stuff. And it's like, oh, you had an error, but like that doesn't happen on Switch 2, for example. And it's also like on Mario Kart, like again, like it's just on World, despite the fact there's 24 players, I've just consistently been able to have a lot of races like where nothing happens, like the connection runs fine, I don't disconnect or anything. There's only been like once or twice over a long span of playing it's happened, but otherwise it's been very reliable.
Yeah, and our internet's really good, which I mean probably contributes to some of that. But I can tell you, even with our current internet that we had when I was playing stuff on Switch One, even with all the optimizations I kept making aside from an Ethernet cable, like just Wi-Fi connection, it sucked. It was just not good. And I've noticed that like some Switches had better Wi-Fi signal connection than others. Like I know yours did not have as strong as one.
Yeah.
And whereas mine was kind of better, and then my brother's was not as good either.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of iffy. So that was like really annoying.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi chip seems like it might be better, but we have to wait for Rec to get his Switch 2 for us to really compare and know for sure.
Yeah, mine's coming in today, and hopefully there won't be any problems. I've heard some stuff with like battery bloating and stuff, but hopefully that won't happen.
Hopefully not.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Another thing I appreciate is that they finally added an actual LAN Ethernet port to the dock for Switch 2.
Well, you
don't need an adapter anymore.
Well, that was on the OLED too.
Well, I know, but I mean like for like a base model,
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, it's really helpful because, where we have our setup, we have the router downstairs, and
which is near our console. So
yeah, our gaming setup, yeah. And so like we just got an Ethernet cable and tried it yesterday. And I do have to say that it's like,
we played Smash Ultimate with it. So
Smash Ultimate with it. But before I get into the Ethernet stuff real quick, I do want to talk about, like, I don't know if this is just me, but I do feel like docked, like, online connection felt more stable compared to handheld.
it did, yeah. For what it was, I don't know if that's real. There's something built into the dock to cause that without Ethernet, I don't know. But it felt more stable. But it might also just because our dock is closer to the router than us playing it in our room is. So.
Well, even when you were playing it on the couch right there, which would be arguably closer, you were still having iffiness with Ultimate.
That is true, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say for sure because then we tried the Ethernet after that, so we can't really gauge. But
yeah.
Someone would have to test that, but I just get this feeling that handheld's Wi-Fi connection is probably not as good.
Possibly, yeah.
Like, I feel like it's something where you almost have to have it closer to the router for it to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, which is the same case with Switch 1 if you didn't have Ethernet, admittedly. So
Yeah. Even with the dock, it was really problematic. But I feel like with this one, because we were playing Mario Kart World and everything, it felt super stable when we were playing it.
Yeah.
Without the Ethernet.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas then, like, you played Ultimate and handheld, and it was like, it was better. Like, I would say it was about like the average connection you would have on a really good Switch 1 connection.
Yeah, that's what it felt like pretty consistently, honestly.
Like a Wi-Fi one, yeah.
Yeah.
But talking about Smash Ultimate and online, we tried the Ethernet cable. We did try that.
Yeah, we tried that, and we were using our Switch 2 controllers. Like I had the Switch 2 Pro controller. Rick was using the GameCube NSO controller.
Yes, and the GameCube NSO controller, I don't know what Nintendo was saying about, it doesn't work with others. It does work with other stuff. It doesn't work on Switch 1. Yeah. That's been confirmed, but it does work
on like other apps and stuff. Yeah.
If you're using it on Switch 2, it'll work for other games. You can use it on Mario Kart World. You can use it on Smash Ultimate. And the Smash Ultimate actually does register as a GameCube controller. It will read it as that.
Well, we even tried Mario All-Stars and we tried up Sunshine and it recognized it just fine. Like the analog triggers and everything worked the way they would have on an original GameCube. So
yeah. So basically it works. Basically think of it as a wireless GameCube adapter. So if you're someone who couldn't get the adapter, I would pick up, and you like the GameCube controller for this, pick it up. And that was another thing. I did not notice any input delay when I was using the wireless controller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We were playing Smash Ultimate. Like the input delay felt less than it did on the Switch 1.
Yeah, like it actually felt like, normally I don't like using wireless controllers with certain games because there is this kind of delay in the feeling. Even with games like Mario Kart 8, I could feel this at times. But with Switch 2, I have not felt that. But like I said, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Ethernet. We tried it. We went online. We did like doubles with it and stuff. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. It felt like we were playing offline. Mm-hmm. Like we were the only ones probably that were using Ethernet with Switch 2 probably for most of those matches. And not only like maybe I'd say 2 to 5% of those matches that we did quite a few, like jittered like once a match, like a quick little jump, which was not even much of anything.
Yeah, because I used to use Ethernet with my Switch 1 for Smash, and even then, like the connection was more consistently better, but it didn't feel like input delay was less, and it didn't feel like I was playing offline. There's still some lag and stuff here and there. Other than if someone else also had Ethernet, it was like the best connection, and then it was pretty good. Although I don't know if I'd quite say it was online, like felt offline levels of quality, but here it really did feel like that the whole way through.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that the whole way through. Like, I mean, I kid you not, when we were playing, I literally felt like I was playing Smash offline at times. Like, I could not tell the difference. Mm-hmm. Like, it felt the same. So, I would say for the online experience so far, the Switch 2 is a massive improvement. Like,
absolutely.
There is, like I said, I would just dump your Switch 1 and get a Switch 2. Like, if you're playing it a lot, if you're not a big Switch player, I would say maybe hold out on Switch 2. Wait until you get like a game that you really care about or something like that. But if you're someone that like really likes Smash or Mario Kart or something, and you like want that better online experience, I would really advocate to get a Switch 2 just for that.
I would agree, yeah, because it's just such a big improvement. Like I'm just surprised it's this big of an improvement. They never advertised any of this, So.
Honestly, it feels a lot like the PS5 in levels of like Wi-Fi stuff.
Yeah.
Because like there's still some lag and stuff that happens with that when I'm on Wi-Fi with PS5, but it's still pretty consistent a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I feel here. that like the Switch 2's Wi-Fi is very similar to the PS5's. So if you think like the PS5 has good Wi-Fi, that's kind of what Nintendo's Wi-Fi is now, from what I've seen. Even if other people have kind of not as good connection.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. So,
kind of to just kind of skim over this, we were talking about the input delay. This is something, like I said, we can't really test, but it just feels like the console itself is more responsive. Like we had the dock kind of 6 feet across the room.
yeah.
Like, and we're sitting on our couch and we're using wireless controllers, and I'm telling you that those inputs felt like I was tapping it, and like on the screen I could not visibly tell. Like it felt as soon as I tapped that button, an input came out.
Yeah.
And like this was so important because when we were playing like Smash Ultimate and stuff, we were not doing any misinputs or anything. It felt like everything came out fine, and like along with the buffer system, it felt like, oh wow, this is like really good. Because before, like, you almost have to use like a wired GameCube controller to kind of avoid that, but I felt it was even better than that.
Yeah, that's the amazing part. Yeah, the input delay, like it really just feel like you're playing wired controllers, if not better, honestly. And like I'm just really surprised, like no one ever they never talked about any of this in the marketing or anything like that. And like I've only like the only place we've heard other people talk about this more so was like Density, like another Smash YouTuber who plays DDD and stuff. Like he was talking about how much the input delay felt significantly less on Switch 2 when it came to Smash, at least. And we definitely can corroborate. Yeah, it feels very much improved. So.
Yeah, he's definitely 100% right. Oh, definitely. Like, it was kind of weird when he was talking about it. I'm like, well, how much different? And it's like, it's hard to really give a measurement. It just feels different. Like you can feel it. And at first I thought maybe I'm just imagining things. Maybe it's just like, you know how it is, how you start believing something.
Yeah.
And maybe we are, but I do think there is a semblance of like, again, I know with our old wired controllers, there was all sorts of connectivity iffiness.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is like it felt like we didn't have any misinputs at all. Like that we tend to have with Switch 1. We'd have like we were things don't come out right the way we want them to. But here, like we didn't have any at all. I didn't
have any.
Me either.
Any misinputs I did do, I knew it was my own fault. Like I was like, oh yeah, I know I did that.
Yeah.
There was no like accidental buffering, nothing, even online.
Yep.
That was the amazing thing. Like that's why I'm saying like this was by far the smoothest experience. Like Ultimate actually felt really good to play.
Definitely, yeah.
And so one of the things I'm kind of really curious about, and what I kind of want to know is Mario Maker 2 had such abysmal online.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah,
like that you want to talk about terrible online, that has the worst online of any Nintendo Switch game that I know of. And I'm hoping to test it, and I will probably get back to you guys when I do, but I'll test it with Wi-Fi and Ethernet and see. But because like I loved the like multiplayer, and that was so good. But the problem is like the internet is just so garbo.
Yeah, it looked really, really bad.
So anyways, but if I find out anything about that, I'll probably I'll make a post on it on my channel or put a comment under this video, and then you can kind of see if I found anything on that for those that are curious. Moving along, the Pro Controller is absolutely amazing.
Definitely worth the price, honestly.
Like, I know $85 is a huge asking price, believe me, but like, in my opinion, I find it so funny that the Joy-Con 2s cost more than the Pro Controller, and I think the Pro Controller feels more premium than the Joy-Con 2s.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah, like I would definitely like. I mean, I like both of them, but if I had to choose one, Pro Controller easily, no question.
Oh yeah, like it's so hard to explain it. Like it's one of those products that you almost just have to just feel it and use it for yourself to get it.
Yeah, no, like all the hype people had about the sticks and how soft and smooth they feel, like all of it was 100% justified. They're 100% right. It just feels so nice to control, so like light in your hands. Honestly, I feel like it feels a lot better than like a PlayStation 5 controller, for example. It feels a lot more premium than that.
Oh yeah, like we have PS5 controllers and stuff, and they're great. At first I really liked them. I did think they were better than most Switch controllers, but with this I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like this, like if you ask me what do I like more, I would have to say the Switch 2 Pro controller. Like it just feels, that's another thing, like it's got this sleek design that feels like so good in your hands. Like even my big hands, it feels like so comfortable. Like, because one of the things that I really didn't like about the Switch 1 Pro controller is it is terribly clunky feeling in your hands.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Like I never and I didn't like the buttons. I didn't like the feel. I just got it because I wanted a regular controller.
Yeah.
And then I went to an 8-bit do controller, and then I never touched a Switch Pro controller ever again. But this one, I'm like, forget the third party. I only want this controller. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, I think it shows. 'Cause I remember in the Switch 2 Welcome Tours thing, they said how they based the Switch 2 Pro controller off the GameCube primarily, and then they added these little sheet things to make the stick slide really smoothly, and it shows. It's like I've never felt another controller like it, really. Other than like GameCube controller is the closest comparison. So
yeah. For me, this feels like a GameCube controller 2.0. Like finally, Nintendo has like another one that I'm like, yeah, I could totally use this a lot. Because before then, it was just kind of like, nah, the GameCube is just always number one for me.
Same here, yeah.
But that's another thing. It feels lighter than the Switch 1 Pro controller.
It does, yeah, definitely. It feels, not like the Switch one felt a little bit bulky. This one does not at all, even though it's the same size and everything, really. So.
Oh yeah, like
it also I just like the colors more. I never liked the kind of see-through parsley thing on Switch One, but here it's like it's just pure black with a really nice white on top that contrasts it well.
The nice Switch 2 logo, it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks really good. I just prefer like how much more the plus and minus buttons pop. It feels nicer to push. Yeah, I didn't like how clicky they were on Switch One. It felt awkward.
Well, they're kind of inside. It's just everything just feels like it's easy to press. And the face buttons actually feel bigger. Which feels easier to press and I like.
Yeah.
And the sticks are just so quiet. Like, even when Alex is playing Smash and stuff, and normally his controller is very clicky, but I could hear nothing.
Exactly.
That's how nice and quiet it is. And of course, it makes it great if you're trying to record something and you don't want your clickiness coming over the mic.
Yeah.
Which you might have heard in some of my videos in the past. But
that will soon be a thing of the past. So,
but yeah, it's so funny. Like a Switch 2 controller feels also like more sturdy. It doesn't feel like a brick. Like Switch 1 Pro controller feels like a brick.
Yeah.
Like it's sturdy in that kind of way, but at the same time, like this feels like it's light, ergonomic, sturdy. We didn't get to try the rumble on either the Joy-Con 2s or this, so we don't know what that's like.
But we hear it's like really good. People say it's like. It's like the developer said they based it off of the GameCube's Rumble, which I remember was really good, but they say it's even better than that, so supposedly.
So yeah, we'll have to try that at some point. I'm not a big Rumble person, so that's normally not the first thing I think to test.
Yeah,
with
same
controller.
here. Yeah, same here. Yeah.
But yeah, and finally to just kind of end our thoughts on the Switch 2 before we move on to Mario Kart World. Really, I have to be really blunt here. The Switch 2 makes the Switch 1 look like cheap junk.
Yeah, honestly.
Like, I know people are like, oh, $400 and some dollars, it's so expensive. And yeah, it is, but I can tell you from firsthand, it feels even more premium than a $400. Honestly, it feels like a $500+ console to me.
Yeah, it finally feels like it's almost reached like Sony levels of premium, if I'm being honest,
Almost. And like it's not quite there.
But it's really close, yeah.
But like they compensate in areas that I think kind of helps get them closer to that.
Yeah. But yeah, because this is the Switch Pro people were wanting, and then an extra, really. And the nice thing too is like for launch lineup stuff, I know people like if you're not interested in Mario Kart World, you'll still get so much more out of your Switch 1 games on this than you ever would on an actual Switch 1 or even an OLED. So.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the console truly feels premium, like the whole thing. Like it just feels really premium. Like I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, whether it's in handheld or docked. If I feel like I want to play both now. Normally I'm more of a handheld person, but seeing how good everything looks and runs on Switch, on TV, especially with the performance patch improvements and stuff, makes me actually want to play on docked more than I used to. So.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. And I've heard that, some gameplay when it's recorded, it doesn't quite get across just how, what's the word? Like how good it looks.
Yeah, in person.
And I can tell you as someone who's seen both footage and played, yeah, the footage does not...
it doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't do it justice. You're not seeing what it really looks like.
The only thing though, one of the few caveats I'd have to say though is like, with the Switch 2, like if you want to get the most out of docked mode, you will need a 4K TV at least, because you want to take advantage of the HDR and then the games that actually do run in 4K,
Even if you don't, handheld really helps do that for you anyways.
It does, yeah. For most games, yeah, it still works really well because the 1080p on handheld is still look very, very nice. So
again, it's on a smaller screen, so it almost feels like, because like when we went to the 4K, it felt like the image quality felt pretty much the same because the screens, it's just like one screen is bigger, one screen smaller, but like in a sense, there's still a lot of pixels within those screens, so it feels very similar.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. So yeah, well, any last thoughts before we move on to Mario Kart World?
Don't let your kids get a Switch 2 if they're very young.
Oh, yeah.
Like, wait for, like, Nintendo will definitely do a Switch 2 Lite probably within the next 2 years or so. Don't let your little kids handle it. It'd be too big for them, and more importantly, they'll probably break it or damage it, and that's all money gone down the drain. Don't do that.
Yeah, that is a big thing. Like, because this feels so premium, if I had kids, I would not entrust them with it. I just can't.
Yeah, no.
It's so expensive. And again, it's totally worth the price. Like, like, believe me, in my humble opinion, $450 is a steal for this console.
It really is.
Like, when you're talking about all the stuff it can do and all the improvements
and the backwards compatibility,
this huge library, that you get. And we're not just talking about a library of Switch games. We're talking about now you have NES, Super NES, Game Boy Advance, N64, Sega Genesis,
now GameCube, yeah,
and now GameCube. Like, you've got a massive library of just games that you can do. And, it's so funny because normally I like to get games on PS5, and I was thinking, oh, this PS5 version looks so good. Then I saw the Switch 2 version. I'm like, well, it also looks so good, but then I can also play handheld and I can just do it in bed. So you know what? I'm just going to do that. Like, before, the portability was not enough for me because the screen was so tiny on Switch 1. And again, it wasn't comfortable to play. But this, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll totally do it on handheld now.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
So overall, this is the Switch Pro people were wanting. If you really want better improvement in every area, online, offline, docked, handheld, whatever, this is the console for you.
Yeah, basically, if you really, really loved Switch 1, you really liked it, and you already liked handheld and everything, or if you were just someone like me that really only did docked, but maybe we were hoping that you could use handheld and it wasn't so, iffy for you, this is probably a console for you. Save up the money. Do it, whatever you need to do. Like, it's totally worth it.
100%, yeah.
For those that are not that big on Switch, I'd say just wait.
Yeah, just wait.
Like, I don't think this is a console you really need to get. If you're not that much into Nintendo, like, there's not enough games out right now.
Yeah.
Like, I totally understand people are like, oh, why did I get this now? There's not much here. And I'm like, I totally get it. Just keep that in mind. Don't make that mistake that other people have made. Just wait. There's no rush. I'm sure this console generation is going to go on for a while. Like, there's no rush to get it now. Like, you've got like at least 8 years.
Yeah, at minimum. It'll be supported for a long time, if not longer. So
yeah. So my view is like, even if you waited like 2 years, I'm sure there's a lot more games by then and stuff. So yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on to Mario Kart World. So, gameplay. Well, first and foremost, let's do our first overall thoughts. Like, what's your overall thoughts on it? Just generally speaking, just a few.
The game definitely could use some quality of life updates. There's a few things that are a little lacking in that, certain accessibility options or getting online with friends, stuff like that. A few things that could use a bit of fixing. But overall, I'd say the whole package feels way more complete than base 8 ever did. Or even base 8 Deluxe before the booster course pass. If I'm being honest, it feels like there's a lot to it. It's a lot of courses very quality. The mechanics are very, very fun. Very everything works really well around them. It's very chaotic in a fun way. There's a lot of very high skill ceiling. There's a lot to do in the game, offline and online. I think it's a really solid title.
Yeah, I feel very similarly. I was honestly very shocked, just because you have to understand that I got original 8 on Wii U, and then I got 8 Deluxe. And I've gotten so used to kind of that approach. And you have to understand, it's not just 8. It's 7. Ever since 7 onward, they've kind of had this formula about it that felt very hand-holdy.
Yeah.
And I was just extremely surprised that the devs really did not seem to be catering to a casual audience primarily this time, where it seemed like their main audience was definitely longtime Mario Kart fans.
Yeah, veteran players who've been with the series since the earlier days.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a real shock because I'm so used to Nintendo really dumbing things down as things progress. But no, instead they kind of did a whole 180.
Yeah, it feels more dedicated, more catered towards hardcore gamers, really.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that here shortly. But in fact, let's kind of talk about, because we brought up Mario Kart 8 and stuff. Let's talk about, it is fairly different from that game.
It's very different, yeah.
Like, basically, to kind of summarize it, just everything you've learned about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you can pretty much just throw out the window.
Yeah, there's like not going to be any snaking. There's not going to be any like hang gliding tricks or anything.
Yeah, no.
None of that.
Like, even the charge jumping and trying to do that, it actually slows you down as you're charging a jump. You actually like go to a lower speed.
Yeah, no, you can't use it to try to spam tricks. It'll just make you go slower in the long run. So.
Yeah, you'll go slower in the long run. Even if you get perfect timing, like to do it immediately when you get the sparks. It's not faster. It really is just used to do that. And what I like is the new mechanics are really helpful, but the thing is, I think for people that are used to maybe like 8's methods of strategy and stuff, you're probably not going to like World at first.
Yeah.
Because the strategy is more akin to, I would say, Double Dash. Because, and again, for those of you that have played Double Dash, you'll probably, and I mean in a more serious level, not just casual, I would say you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But in Double Dash, there's like a lot of alternate paths and things that you can do. And they may not, they usually are not like faster, but they're really just there to get out of the chaos of all the items and the stuff that's going on. That's basically how you have to treat World. There's all these alternate paths, not for the sake of actually being shortcuts. There are significant shortcuts. But what I'm saying is, this is definitely a game that took a lot of inspiration from Double Dash's design philosophy as far as track design. And I can definitely see it everywhere here.
Yeah.
So, when you're taking, these rail grinding or riding on a wall to get someplace, yeah, it's not so that way you can go faster or anything like that. It literally is just so you can... like avoid the chaos and kind of recuperate yourself. And that's literally about it.
Pretty much, yeah.
I personally really love that.
Same here, because I've always been like, I'm not a big Mario Kart person like Reg here is, but like the one that I really gravitated the most to was Double Dash, because again, like it's like a lot of strategies, a lot feels like you can really do in terms of drifting and like taking other paths and stuff to really, get out of the chaos and really get ahead and pull ahead hard, And I never really felt that was the case with most other Mario Karts, but World very much feels a lot like that. Like it feels like it took a lot of inspiration from that. It feels more like the true successor in a lot of respects.
Yeah, like I said, this caters more to longtime fans. Those that have played a lot of different Mario Kart games like I have, you will see a lot of different aspects of each game kind of built into World. This is definitely just really much just built for long time players. And in that sense, I think a lot of people are probably going to be turned off if you're just playing this for like an hour or so. You're probably really not going to get a feel for this game. In fact, I can pretty confidently say, even with my experience, like I picked it up pretty quickly. It did not take me that long, and Alex took a little bit longer, but
yeah.
It was overall, we picked it up pretty quickly and we got the basics down, but to actually start like getting, into the weeds, so to speak, of it, that's going to take more time. And I think that's going to turn off a lot of people, where it's going to seem really boring to many, because I'm going to be really honest with you, unless you're starting to look for that. And again, you're treating this like Double Dash, and let me rephrase it. If you're going into this game trying to view it as Mario Kart 8 2.0, you're not going to have fun.
Yeah, there's a reason they didn't call this Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, they were 100% right. That like if this was following more of that, they would have called it 9. But the title says it all. It's World. It's not 9. Do not treat it like a successor to 8. It does not feel like a successor to 8.
It's a very different game.
It's very different. If anything, I would actually liken it to a lot of the titles before that were not numbered, that actually had unique names.
Yeah, all the stuff before DS, I'd say. That actually they had unique names,
Yeah. Like, because DS and Wii, it was just kind of, they named after the console.
And yeah, that was the beginning of them making more of that 7 and 8 style.
Yeah, that was kind of like, DS was the birth. It was like kind of departing from the Double Dash mechanics and started going more towards the mechanics we know today in 8.
Yeah.
I would still say DS was still more unique, and so was Wii, but they definitely were departing from the very unique feels of the original games of like Super Mario Kart, Super Circuit, 64, and Double Dash. So, yeah, and like I said earlier, the game is not as forgiving and handholdy as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. The CPUs are they're a mix between double dashes and
64
and 64s. Yeah. Sorry, our cuckoo clock was going off.
Yeah.
But
like be prepared to get hit a lot in this game.
Yeah, and this, like I said, the CPUs do have rubber banding again. That has come back, and I was honestly extremely surprised. I personally like it because I cannot stand 8 deluxes. Like, if I want to play offline and I want to have a challenge, I just can't. The CPUs are just not hard at all.
They're really not.
Like, but in World, you'll have at least like the top 6 actually be pretty hard, and it makes it interesting.
Definitely.
Not unbeatable. I think some people say, oh, this is so hard, I can't beat it. I tried Knockout Tour that people were complaining about, and you got 3 stars in like 4 of the cups easily.
Yeah.
Like, you know, now I'm an experienced Mario Kart player, so it's probably not that hard for me. Like I said, this is definitely not a game. If you're a casual player and you're trying to get that, or, you know, you've just so easily got an 8, you're not going to get it easily here.
No.
Anyways, we did talk about how this was kind of a mix of Double Dash and 64's mechanics. Drifting especially feels more like 64s, but also a little bit more sharper at times, like double dashes.
Yeah.
But the overall feel is very much like 64s. I would just say, like I said, it's an interesting hybrid between double dash and 64s.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there.
Yeah. So, and you know, there's elements from other games as well. Like, for example, Super Mario Kart. I think they really took inspiration from pulling more from like a greater focus on character selection, and that like characters have different strengths, and there has been confirmation on this that like different characters have like different speeds, or, you know, things that they're good on a certain terrains and stuff.
There's a lot of hidden stats like there were in 8, but potentially even more so
yeah, now it's kind of back to how it used to be, where like picking a character matters more than probably even a kart does. But that remains to be seen. That's just the feeling that I've been getting. Like, even though the stats say they're a lot of the same, like, they don't feel that way.
Definitely, yeah.
Also, I would say Mario Kart Super Circuit was definitely referenced. As someone who's, you know, played it recently, you know, shout out to my recent video on that. But yeah, the drifting, people really don't like the drifting Super Circuit. Well, when you're drifting on water, it feels a lot like drifting in Super Circuit.
Yeah.
Where you kind of have to use a very similar strategy to that, where you kind of have to align yourself. Like, you can't just do a sharp turn and then let go, because you'll kind of just slide inward. So it's kind of like the Super Circuit problem. And also in Super Mario Kart, it's a similar thing too. But
definitely, yeah.
But yeah. So, you know, this is just very difficult. And then I would say it pulls from Mario Kart Wii for like super shortcuts and some more complex tech. It definitely feels more akin to that. Although I personally feel I'm enjoying this way more than I ever did Wii.
Oh, no, same here, yeah. Like, Wii is too technical. Yeah.
It's a little too alienating.
Yeah.
Or it's like, it's too...
Well, it feels like Mario Bike Wii in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
If you're not using bikes, you're not going to get much of anywhere.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, that this just feels like, you know, it combines all these different elements of the older titles. And like I said, if you're not someone who grew up on those older titles of, like, I would say anything from Double Dash and before, this is probably going to be a pretty huge shock to you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm sure you're going to have a pretty hard time fully adjusting.
Definitely, yeah.
So, yeah. And that kind of gets right into it. It takes a bit of time to really get a feel for this game. Like I said, you know, even for me, a long time Mario Kart player, it took a few sessions, hour-long sessions, for me to really begin to understand all the mechanics and the physics of this. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, it's not exactly casual friendly. It's a lot more chaotic than most other Mario Kart titles. Feels more akin to Double Dash's chaos, so be prepared to be hit a lot. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it requires more of a time sink, you know, to get better at the game, like most older titles. Like I said, with Double Dash, like the thing that really kind of off-puts a lot of people from those older games like Super Mario Kart, Super Circuit, 64, and Double Dash is it takes a lot more to learn those games and to get good at them than it does DS onward.
Definitely, yeah. It's not like pick up and play. You can get good at it in like half an hour or something. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not like DS where it's so easy to snake. Like, all you have to do is just this one thing, and there you go. You know the main competitive technique of the game. It's not that easy. No, it's not like that. There's so many elements of, like, you have the item strategy of Double Dash where that's super important. Like you have to be really careful when you use items. You know, you got to figure out when you're going to take shortcuts. Do I take this path? Do I take that path? What will it gain me? Will it not be useful? Should I just, who's around me? Things like that. Like I said, it's very much the mentality of Double Dash, especially in like Knockout Tour, especially there.
Definitely, yeah.
So, yeah. And that kind of segues perfectly into modes. So we played pretty much every mode we could. Grand Prix is different, but feels really good. I'm actually really happy for the shakeup. I know some people really don't like it, but I kind of view the intermission tracks a lot like Mount Wario and like 3DS Rainbow Road and stuff like that, like those section ones.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view it. And it's like, okay, now we get all these different courses because now we get to drive and then we do this last little section. And that's okay. I would be more upset if they did not have an option for 3 laps on the original tracks.
Yeah, that would have stunk, honestly.
But and like I said, the CPUs are actually challenging. The intermissions are fun, and it's just really refreshing for Grand Prix. Because like I said, I never cared for Grand Prix that much. The only time I ever cared about it was in Double Dash with the All Cup Grand Prix.
Yeah,
that was fun.
So fun, yeah.
Yeah, and the CPUs are actually challenging there. And like I said, I do it in Mario Kart 64 because the CPUs are challenging as well.
Yeah,
because you can't get that in Versus. So it was more, Grand Prix felt more okay there because of how it was set up back then. But nowadays where it's like, oh, well, Versus is almost like Grand Prix mode, but just better anyways. It's like you needed something to kind of make Grand Prix different, more of a unique mode that maybe you would want to play even after you finish it.
Definitely, yeah.
So, you have anything to say on that?
No, I was just gonna say like they hit it out of the park with Grand Prix mode. I actually wanted to like feel incentivized, like I want to get the 3 stars and really try to push myself, get the best on there, and like it's a fun time doing so. It doesn't feel like a chore. So
yeah. I don't have a lot to say on Knockout Tour. I feel like most people have already talked a lot about it.
Yeah, but like it feels like, I'll be honest, it feels like the game generally was designed, in terms of versus races, was designed a bit more around Knockout Tour than some of the other modes. It very much feels the most like Double Dash. Like you really have to be on top of item management and strategy there if you want to get anywhere. If you're not actively doing that, keeping an eye on the track, how far you have to go and stuff, like you'll get steamrolled. You won't get anywhere. So.
Like to really put things into perspective. Alex did not grow up with Double Dash. I grew up with it. I smoke people in Knockout Tour online and all that. Like I was getting first or the top 4 like very consistently.
Like almost every time, yeah.
Almost every time. It's just because I cannot stress enough. It really, if you know Double Dash well, you will do well on Knockout Tour. It's pretty much the same strategies.
Yeah.
And Alex struggles a bit more because he also struggles with Double Dash and hasn't had all that experience.
Well, I've gotten a bit better at it. Like when I start playing it more like Double Dash, I do a lot better. So
yeah. It's very, I love it because I'm just like, I love Double Dash. I love the game mechanics of that. And I'm like, yes, please give me more. So that's just kind of that. I don't really have much more to say. It has like 8 cups, just like there's 8 Grand Prix cups. And they're all really fun. Like there's some that are, what I like is there's some that are more challenging than others.
Yeah.
Like they're harder to really get to and you can be eliminated really early if you're not really careful. And I love it.
Same here, yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just hard to describe. It's just really, and some people get really stressed, but for me, I'm like relaxed the whole time. I guess I don't really react that much. Do you feel stressed when you get to those gates? Do you feel like, I gotta hurry up and get there?
No, I don't really feel that. No, I don't get that. I don't get that anxious.
Me neither. I know some people, I don't feel that way.
I don't either.
I'm like, sometimes I get a little nervous and I'm like, oh no, I don't think I'm going to make it. But there's sometimes like, oh no, I don't think I made it. And then I made it. I'm like, oh, whoa, I just slipped through.
Same here, yeah.
So, versus mode feels okay.
Yeah.
Like
ironically one of the more lacking modes, but
it's like when you're going for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it feels like a huge drop in options.
Definitely, yeah.
And really, I just gotta say this now. That's what Mario Kart World suffers from in general, is just
lack of quality of life. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say a lack of options, a lack of customization.
Yeah. Like, I think toning down the customization with the carts was a good thing. Like, I don't have to pick a million parts. I prefer just having just the cart, just the character, and you go. That was good. That was less is more, but like in a good way. But here, all of other places, it feels less is more in bad ways. Well, not even less is more, just less.
But let me kind of just break it down. Despite lacking a lot of options, you can choose to do 3 laps or intermissions on versus mode. You can choose that. But there is no custom item mode. So if you're hoping for that to return from 8 Deluxe, unfortunately, it is not here.
Yeah.
Which really sucked. Another thing that kind of bothers me is there like when you do certain intermission courses and you kind of like, for example, if you go from like Whistletop Summit or whatever it is to like Mario Bros Circuit, you actually drive the track backwards, which is really cool, but you can't pick a 3-lap version of that.
Yeah.
You have to do the intermission to do that variant of that track.
Yeah, which is a shame, but you know.
And then there's like somewhere like, oh, if you approach like SNES Mario Circuit, the 3, sometimes you'll either race on 1, 2, or 3, but again, you only get to do 1 lap around them, which sucks. I'd like it in versus mode at least if I could like choose to race around those like 5 laps, like like Koopa Troopa Beach, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So, also just kind of throwing this out here because we did versus mode with like, well, more like with battle mode we did this, and versus mode is the same. 30 frames per second once you hit 3 players or more on a screen.
Yeah, which sucks. But I mean, I get it because you have to run 24 players so many times over. The console was powerful, but not that powerful yet. So,
speaking of battle mode, it's
the worst mode. To be honest here.
That's how you feel?
Yeah. It just feels so limiting compared to some of the other ones. You know, it's like just all you have is coin runners and then traditional balloon battle. Balloon battle's fun and all, but like it feels like when you can't have more than 3 people on the thing, it just feels kind of like.
Well, we haven't tried online, to be fair.
We haven't yet, but at the same time, it'll probably be chaotic in a better way. It'll probably feel like it runs better, but also just I don't know. It just feels like there's not much going for it, and like it also like I get the feeling that a lot of people are gonna be playing it either with the lack of options.
Yeah.
So it's gonna probably be kind of barren compared to the other 2 modes.
I mean, it reminds me a lot. The reason why I'm not upset is because I still think it's better than Base 8's battle mode, which was absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, back on Wii U.
Because like. That only had battle mode, from what I remember.
You mean Balloon Battle?
Balloon Battle.
Wow.
That's what I mean.
That's pretty sad, yeah.
Yeah, that's all it had. And there weren't even designated battle courses. It was just driving on like Moo Moo Meadows or, you know, or Donut Plains or Sherbert Land. It was just the whole track. You just drove on it.
That's pathetic, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. So like I said,
okay, it's better than that. Yeah.
I was gonna say this battle mode is good and bad. Like it's got a mix of stuff, and this is honestly, I'll be really blunt here. It's what I expected. I was not expecting Mario Kart 8 Deluxe levels because again, they had all these years to improve and add on things to 8.
Yeah. Again, like I've never been super big on battle mode in the first place, so I don't really mind that much. Like Rick said, I expected it to be about this. Bare bones, especially at launch and stuff. I wasn't expecting much. So.
I will say I do appreciate that if you pick the hard CPUs in battle mode, they're actually tough to beat.
They are, yeah.
Like I got my butt handed to them a few times on that, and it's fun. So like if you at least have like 2 players and you're just playing, like if you do like we haven't tried wireless and stuff yet, but we're hoping to do that soon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think battle mode could be fun.
Could be, yeah,
with friends and stuff. I know some people don't. They want more out of it, but personally I think this is good enough for now. If they ever decide to add stuff to it, fine, but I think this is good enough. It does feel tacked on, but not as tacked on as something I'll get onto later.
True, yeah.
But yeah, but I'll say it says, you know, it suffers from similar problems to versus mode, the lack of more than 2 battle modes. And this is the thing that really just confused me and I didn't really quite understand. And if it's any update that I'd want in the future, like just anything on battle mode, it's just, why can we not change the timer like we could in 8 Deluxe?
Yeah, that's really annoying.
Like you can't even make it 5 minutes. It's just at 3 minutes. You cannot change the timer at all. You are just stuck to 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's not.
Like with 24 players, like they brought back elimination for Balloon Battle, which is amazing.
But then you can't get everyone out.
Yeah, you can't get everyone out.
There's not enough time.
There's not enough time, yeah. So, again, I'm glad elimination is back. I hated that it was not in 8 Deluxe's Balloon Battle. That really bothered me.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But the battle stages are really good, though. Like, I tried all of them, and, like, I really liked them. Like, I thought they were really good.
That's fair. Yeah, they look interesting. So I like the Dino Jungle one, and Donut Plains was good, like it usually is. Big Donut.
Big Donut, yeah.
Yeah, those are both good. Like, yeah, I like those stages. I haven't tried the other ones though. So
yeah. Time trials is your standard 3-lap fare, as you'd expect. You know, get the best time. It's the traditional thing. They didn't change that, so don't worry. You still get 3 mushrooms when you start. You get to take the shortcuts. It's all the same stuff. So if you're a time trialer and you like that, you'll probably really like to sink time into this mode. Especially since you can rewind during time trial, and which allows you to really lab stuff during the track.
Without other CPUs getting in the way.
Yeah, so you can just do that as much as you want and experiment. And the rewind feature was something I wasn't crazy about. You can't use it online or anything against people, but it's really helpful when you're trying to practice routes and stuff, because there's a lot of alternate paths, and I can't tell you how useful in free roam, for example, when I'm like waiting in between lobbies, because you can, when you're online, when you're not in races, you can rewind, and you can practice routes, because what the best part is, like, after you just did the race, you'll be at that course, and then you can race it in your free time while you're waiting for the next track, and you can practice those routes that you didn't get maybe during that race, and you can try to say, oh, I need to get back to that turn, what do I do here, and like use rewind and lab it. Like, I love that you can do that in online. So free roam is good. And I gotta preface this by saying I didn't have huge expectations going into this. I really did feel like this was going to be a very tacked on mode that was not, Yeah,
it's not the main appeal of the game like the marketing might make you think. The main appeal is still the racing. That's still the main reason you want to play this game. You don't play this just for the free roam. If that's why you're coming for it, then you're going to be disappointed. So.
Yeah, don't come to this for just the free roam. If you're coming for this for the free roam, get Breath of the Wild or something like that for a true open world. Like, free roam is very accurate to it really is just roam around the world and just piddle around, basically. Like, I like that sort of stuff.
I do too.
But there's a lot of people, like, if you're expecting like a lot of purpose in this, forget it. You're not
getting any of that.
That's not going to be for you. But like I said, I ended up liking it way more than I thought. Like, it was actually a mode that I thought, I was like, I'm probably not going to care for this. No, I actually ended up really getting into it. I started sinking hours into it without even realizing it.
Yeah, same here.
And to be honest, I think one of the big reasons why that is, besides that it's just relaxing and fun to fool around, you don't feel like the stress of racing, and it's just kind of nice to explore the Mushroom Kingdom in this way. The music, when I started hearing the music and you're like cruising along the roads and you're hearing this music, and especially at nighttime and stuff, it just clicked. For me, it clicked, and I was like, oh, this is the appeal of free roam. It's just, it really is all about just cruising the world, taking in the scenery and just relaxing to some jazzy tunes and stuff.
Yeah, taking cool pictures and stuff.
Yeah, that's really just the gist of it.
Yeah, or like playing with your friends, like exploring with your friends and stuff, taking pictures with them.
Yeah, exactly. And I love it.
I love it too.
It's amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And the collectibles and missions are fun. Like, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I like them. They're nice, like, side things to do.
Like, I didn't try out a lot of the P-Switch missions because I was playing on Alex's Switch, and I wanted him to experience most of that himself. But I did a few, and they're fun.
Definitely.
And when you complete a P-Switch, it grays out. Everything that you collect once, it'll gray out, and it'll be gray next time you see it, so you've already collected it.
Yep.
So, all of that said, however, it is a mode that definitely feels like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like, it was very clear their main focus was, as I said, an interconnected world of how they were going to connect all these tracks together and how they were going to make that into a gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
And then they were thinking, okay, we have this big world. Let's just do something with it so it doesn't go to waste.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I really don't feel like, I really want to make this clear. It's still very good fun, and it is quality. Like, it does have quality. It's not,
definitely,
it doesn't feel cheap or anything. It's a good enough experience. It's polished. It feels thought out. It's not like they just threw it together, Like, I've seen some game devs, like, where it really does feel like an afterthought, and it's just like, okay, why even have this here at all?
Yeah.
I don't feel that at all here.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, no, this is still good. It's just, it'll get down to preference if people like it. It's really how I feel.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
That's about, you pretty much summed up everything I feel. So.
Okay. Next, the music. Oh my gosh.
It is like it's definitely the best Mario Kart soundtrack easily. So
the best Mario Kart soundtrack. This is the best video game OST of all time,
in his opinion. But yeah, I mean, I still think it's really, really good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's fantastic. But
it's like, that's my opinion. But and I'm saying it kind of in a jesting manner here. But yes, I do really believe that this is by far the best Mario Kart OST.
Easily. Yeah.
I've ever heard. Like, there are over 200 songs, and like they've made it so seamless to where it transitions to songs and different times of day. Like, I heard the Yoshi's Tale, which is the credit theme of Yoshi's Story, and that when that harmonica came in, I almost was like crying. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. And I didn't really put this here, and I kind of want to throw this in now because this kind of goes with the music and stuff. Rainbow Road in this game, on one hand, I wanted to restrain myself and say, oh no, this isn't the best. But when I've been through so many Mario Karts, and after replaying them all and stuff, like eights, I really don't like. I don't like.
Yeah, no, eights just feels so, it loses all the magic.
Yeah, there's no magical feel about it.
This has that in spades. Yeah, this one
feels so magical. It's so gorgeous. The music it also gives me that classic Mario Kart feel of like how Rainbow Road music used to be.
Yeah.
Because like I'll be honest, after once Wii happened, and I know everybody loves Wii Rainbow Road, and it's a good track. But it was very clearly catered towards more of a Mario Galaxy reference than it felt like more of a Mario Kart thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it was just
it definitely,
it was just more like, oh, look at the star bits, look at all this, see Mario Galaxy. It's just like, okay, I mean, and it's okay to race on. I'm not crazy about it. Even after playing it again on like 8 Deluxe, it's like, yeah, this is good. And then like 7s was also good. Like I like 7s. And 8s was just, like, why?
Yeah.
But this one feels like, okay, now we're getting back to like DS and before with their Rainbow Road designs with that kind of just amazing feel.
Definitely.
There's something really unique about it. Because Wii onward, it felt like there wasn't anything particularly unique about them.
No, yeah.
Like you could argue, oh, well, Wii has the tricks and everything. And well, yeah, but then that was replicated in like 7 and all this other
stuff. Yeah, a lot of them felt more samey or like downgrades after a point,
Yeah. Like I still think Wii's is way better than like 7s or
8s. Yeah, 8s. Definitely, yeah.
Like I like 7s, but I think Wii's is better.
It's better, yeah.
So it's just that that's kind of the beginning of when I noticed that kind of Rainbow Road started feeling less special, yeah. Because Rainbow Road really needs to feel like this kind of, you've hit the end, you're at the end, let's celebrate how that you got here sort of feeling. Like even when I was playing Super Mario Kart and I got to Rainbow Road there, despite how basic it was, in both Super Circuit and Super Mario Kart, they still felt really special. Definitely. Like there's something kind of mystical and almost ethereal about
them. Yeah, even Double Dash had that. Yeah,
there's just something like, it's like this magical road that just appears when all these conditions are met, and World definitely solidifies that with this kind of the way that it kind of shows up.
Well, it's also nice that it's a really long one, like 64.
Yes, it takes from a lot of different Rainbow Roads. I don't want to say too much because honestly,
you got to experience for yourself.
Experience it for yourself.
Like, don't spoil yourself on it. So,
and the music is amazing. So
yep.
So yeah, we talked about all that, and let's get into online. Different from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's online. I don't know how different, but like there is no regional or worldwide option.
Yeah.
You just hit a mode and you just jump in.
Yep.
And at first I was really worried about this because, as you know, if you saw my Mario Kart 8 video, I do not like going on worldwide because normally the DSI or delayed shell impact we like to call it, is just absolutely abysmal there. But I can say in World, I did not suffer from one DSI the entire game, like all the sessions.
Yeah, same here. None of that. So this is really nice.
Like it does not exist.
Whereas it was very, very. It happened a lot in 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, and most of the time you can hit people accurately too. Like it's not as inaccurate as it is in 8, where it's like when I was doing worldwide, I swear there was a lot of times I thought I hit someone, I just didn't.
Yeah.
And here it happens sometimes, but it's not as much as you would think.
Yeah, not nearly as common. So
yeah, so they made a so much better system. It actually feels great to play online. I just feel like the online is just more fun here.
But I think it's just because the game better mechanics. We like them more,
Yeah, I feel like some people will feel differently. If you really like 8, maybe World may not sit well with you, and the online will feel too much.
Yeah.
But for me, who grew up with Double Dash and just getting used to being hit like over and over and over again, and like still clawing your way up and winning, like it's such an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about getting hit in World is it is like Double Dash. You'll be hit forward, your momentum will carry over.
Yeah, that's like there's not a lot of stop and go like in the previous games, just like never liked. I prefer like Double Dash where you just keep going. Like you only really slow down hard if you get hit by like a blue shell or something significant.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
They save the stop and go for like the really powerful items.
Yeah, which is fair,
Which is what Double Dash did as well. So yeah. We did do split screen online. We did try that, and it works for every mode, just like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. However, we did kind of notice it feels more like a hindrance because you really do need more of that screen because there's so much going on.
You need to see so much what's happening around you.
If you only have like 50% of the screen at your disposal, you're going to suffer because there's going to be people who sneak up on you or there's things that you can't see. Like in 8, it was pretty doable, but in this, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, Knockout Tour is not so bad because mostly intermissions. It's more straighter lines, which works because like everyone, it's so chaotic. There's always something going on, you know?
Well, that, and I feel like there's a lot of paths that you can kind of either take like telephone poles or whatever to kind of like get out of the chaos.
Yeah.
And like you everything's straight, so you know where that is. But there's some times where like in versus you're going around turns or anything, and you can't see because the screen's so small.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely not. I would say maybe don't play split screen multiplayer on like versus mode.
Yeah, Knockout Tour is fine enough.
Yeah, Knockout Tour I did fine with split screen.
Same
but
yeah.
Speaking of which, we have tried versus and Knockout Tour. There's a lot of information going around, and I know there's some people that are really upset about, I can't do 3 laps on versus mode. Well, let me explain here. It is mostly intermissions with 1 lap around a track. However, you can play on 3-lap tracks by picking random, or you can pick a track disconnected from where you are, and you'll know because there's no arrows.
There's no arrows pointing towards you.
Yeah. And it's fairly frequent, I would say. Like there was actually a lot of times last night it was coming up for me where I could pick like a course. And we did actually quite a few 3-lap variants, actually a lot last night.
That's nice.
So yeah, and like I said, random is okay because I feel like every track is pretty good. That picking random's fine for me.
Yeah.
Because I want to race on most 3 laps on all that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're someone that's really upset about that, don't worry. Most people, the nice thing is since most people want to do 3 laps, and I personally like the option to do both 3-lap and intermissions because sometimes you only get certain variations of tracks through intermissions that you wouldn't get. However, I still do think there should be options to where people can set their preferences.
Yeah.
Like, I would like it to, if you could be like, I want to, pick, this CC and this stuff and whatever, but yeah. I'll get into that a little bit later.
The one nice thing though is it means mirror mode shows up almost never compared to 8.
It came up 1 time I've done it 2 times now, and it can appear randomly.
But it's super infrequent. So
and anytime mirror comes up, you'll know because the map will flip and everything is mirror. So you no matter what you pick, you're just gonna have to do mirror.
Yeah, makes sense.
But at least you know ahead of time. So it's not like an 8 where it's like it picks and it just jumped out at you and you're like, oh God, I got to process this. So,
Yeah.
Knockout Tour, very fun. We kind of already talked about all that. Very chaotic.
Everything that applies offline applies more here, but except more so since you're playing with real people. So
yeah. Item distribution feels different from versus. I don't know if that really matters to people, but there are definitely different strategies between versus and Knockout Tour. So especially with item distribution, it's different. So just keep that in mind. Point distribution feels different. Like once you hit 7,000 points or more, your point gain seems to shrink heavily. Like you don't get as many.
Yeah.
So, like it's definitely more than 8 Deluxe. Like I'm still getting like 50 points or 50 to 60 points when I get first in these modes. But I'm just curious if like there's almost like a GSP system.
Yeah, it feels like Smash GSP almost.
Because I'm imagining that like you'll have those that pioneer forward and that are getting more points, and then those that are behind like they gain more points.
Yeah.
Quickly. I don't know.
This feels like it. Yeah.
I'm waiting to see people's thoughts on it because I'm having a hard time understanding. It's definitely different from 8's point distribution. I'll say that much. There's something different about it.
Yeah.
Still, I think it's fine. I like it. I think I almost like it more.
I think I like it more than what we had before with 8 Deluxe. Yeah.
But I'm kind of a little bit worried because it's like, okay, a lot of people are already hitting 8,000 and I'm not seeing anyone above like 9,000 yet.
Yeah, I've seen like 8,600 is like probably one of the highest.
Yeah, so I'm like, does it go higher than that? Like it feels like a little small.
Yeah, I'm sure it has to. It just might be not a lot of people have gone that high yet. The bounce off each other, it's point gain maybe. But,
probably.
I think it'll just take time. I doubt that'd be it. There's no way, for this many people, a big install base,
Anyways, to kind of get into the lacking part. it is lacking things. There's no tournament mode. You can't create your own tournaments or your own quote unquote community events, so to speak, like you could in 8, which really sucks.
Yeah.
There really should be something like Smash Ultimate where you can kind of pick your preferences. Like, for example, like you can pick either intermissions only, 3 laps only, intermissions and 3 laps, or 100cc, 150cc, or mirror. Like, I don't know. I just feel like, or you could just pick any cc, like if it doesn't matter to you.
I agree. Yeah.
So, and then we haven't tried joining friends rooms yet. If you can tackle online together with friends, I've heard mixed things on it. Some people say it works. Some people say it doesn't. I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
Again, I'll probably do a follow up on this at some point.
Yeah, but from what we've heard, it seems like you can do what you could do in 8 Deluxe, where you can join a friend in like online races and stuff.
Yeah,
and it seems like, but we don't know for sure yet.
It seems like the same in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah, we'll be testing that soon.
So. Finally, let's just talk about the visuals. I don't have a whole lot to say because I'm not a big person on this.
Yeah, me either. Although even for me, I still have to say this. Just the new art style looks really nice. Like, it just looks, it's very reminiscent of like, Mario's artwork in like, the NES to GBA eras, a lot more classic, it feels like very vibrant. Like, it doesn't look like, 'cause there's been a big criticism of the series with art style from like the Wii era onward. Like, a lot of it feels more basic, feels more kind of like almost, what's the word? Like, well, safe and like sanitized,
Definitely very sanitized. And they went back to as he said, the like kind of early 2000s and before.
Like more cartoony art style.
Like GBA art style stuff, like in the manuals that you'd see.
Yeah, so I'd say the art direction there is very strong, a lot stronger than 8's identity. And also, like, the colors are so much more vibrant. The locales look a lot more realistic and vibrant,
Like, going back and seeing footage of, like, Mario Kart 8, it is not vibrant at all.
It really is not, no.
Like, I don't know if it's...
I think it's partly due to the more realistic take it had, which I don't think works.
I don't think it works for Mario.
It doesn't.
Personally.
No.
Like,
I don't either.
I don't think it looks better than World by a long shot.
No, me either.
I think World's better.
Yeah. Plus, of course, also it has the 4K going for it too, along with HDR, which 8 did not have. So
yeah. Like I said, I will probably try 8 on Switch 2 at some point and see if there's any color differences or anything. But yeah, I just think World looks way better.
Yeah.
The lighting is also really great, and like, the sunlight can really blind you.
Yeah, it feels like real sunlight.
It feels like real sunlight where you can't see things very well. Like, there's actual glare.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I like that. Obviously, that's not usually too bad of a case in the actual races, thankfully, but
Yeah, thankfully, it's not something that like you can't see where you're going.
Yeah, it's just more in free roam, like stuff like that.
In free roam and some like knockouts where like where the sun, like you could still see good enough ahead of you, but it's normally on wide roads that you're normally fine.
Yeah.
And then it goes away quickly. So yeah, it's never a hindrance. It's really interesting. It definitely makes you want to squint your eyes and be like,
Yeah.
But yeah. So any last final thoughts?
I stand by what I said before. Switch 2 and World are big improvements. Definitely worth your time. I feel like not everyone will consider this World an $80 game. I personally do, because I'll get a lot of play out of it. There's a lot for me to do. It caters to me, but I know like I don't stand for everybody. A lot of people are not going to feel that way, and that's totally fair,
Yeah, I do need to say this because I'm sure some people may want to hear this from a very long time Mario Kart fan. But even that, I can kind of remove myself from that. And I do have to be, unfortunately, pretty honest here. While I can see the value in the $80, I feel this is more of a $70 game.
For most people, yeah.
For most people. Like, Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, there's a lot more to it than this.
Well, yeah, there's a lot more content, bang for your buck, so to speak. So
not as much replayability. So I think that's maybe what they're banking.
Yeah,
on.
I think like Mario Kart has always lived and died by its replayability, really.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of where the crux of the issue comes from.
Yeah.
Is that if you're not someone who you don't see yourself replaying this game for the entirety of the Switch 2's lifespan, I would probably say
wait.
Yeah,
because like contrary to what people say, Nintendo does sometimes actually put its games on sale even on its own storefront. Like you can wait for a Mario Day sale, I'm sure, a few years down the line on March 10th, and then you'll probably be able to get Mario Kart World for a cheaper price.
Yeah,
physically
I know
or
that,
digitally.
I know that happened with Deluxe, where it went off by quite a bit of money.
Yeah, exactly. So no, there's ways to do it. You can actually get it cheaper later if you feel it's more worth that price.
Yeah, keep your eye out for, because normally Nintendo does holiday sales.
Yeah, they usually like Black Friday sales, this like Christmas sales, and like and then Mario Day. Those are the big three. They do actually put their games on sale, contrary to popular belief. It's just not as cheap as like other platforms.
Sometimes they do summer sales.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. It does happen, and also keep your eyes out for retail sales, because that also happens. So if you're someone that gets physical stuff, keep an eye out for that. They do often mark down the games quite a bit.
Yeah,
and you can save a lot of money. So if you're like, I would say if you could get the game for like 60 or 70, definitely do it. I think it's worth it.
Absolutely.
But if you're not a hardcore long-term Mario Kart fan, and that you're going to dump hours of the time into the game like I would or Alex would, like how he's really getting into it, then I would say just wait. Wait for a sale. It's fine. Like you don't have to get it now.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'd also say just wait to also buy Switch 2.
Yeah, that too.
So yeah.
Yep.
And that's really just it. So yeah.
That's all my last thoughts. So.
Alrighty, well, thank you all for listening. This went on for quite a while. So yeah, sorry for the length, but hopefully you all enjoyed our in-depth thoughts on this. So we tried to make it on all the different points we could. And I will be having Mario Kart World footage coming out. You'll probably have seen some of it on this video here that I've recorded. It'll be my future self.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll be able to get the footage just fine. And I'll be trying to put out basic videos of me just kind of going over some cups and like doing different things. I won't have my portraits or anything. I'm just going to do really basic editing techniques. And then I'll probably have a full edited video later down the line. So I'll have to fix up my schedule. But in any case, thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all again soon, and take care. Bye.
Bye.